Today we'll be kicking off with the Daily Trust newspaper, and of course, where we'll be taking a look at some very important things. Now, for those who care to know, my name is Henry Igwebike, and we have on the top strip of Daily Trust newspaper, Wike allocates 10 billion naira for rent, furniture to Akpabio, Abbas, and two others. Now, this is not new actually. Um, the reason I say it is not new is because it's very ridiculous. At the same time, it's ludicrous that at a time when Nigeria is bleeding, for those who know, Nigeria is on dialysis right now. You know, every other day we go for dialysis in the country. That's the country is connected to a dialysis machine as we speak, which means we're losing blood, we're losing lots of things, nutrients and all. Nigeria is skinny, as made possible, of course, by our leaders who are still trying to grasp the understanding of leadership. And the Wiki allocates 10 billion naira for rent, furniture to Akpabio, Abbas, and two others is just a symbolism of when we talk about leaders not understanding the meaning, the true meaning of leadership, like the way it should be in other climes and around the world. Akpabio is a two-term governor of Akwa Ibom State. And just before then, he was the head of NDDC, you know, one of the biggest, money-making agency, you know, in Nigeria, in charge of the Niger Delta development. So the budget given to them is sometimes, too humongous. And he's been there, he has been a serving senator, for quite some time. And right now he is the Senate president of the 10th Assembly. So when we talk about resources, it is very safe to say that Akpabio is one man that has it all. In fact, I would love to believe, I'm trying to be hyperbolic here, but Akpabio can literally run any state in the country without FAC allocation. In fact, the resources Akpabio has is enough to run a state like Jigawa or like Katsina, without having FAC given to that particular state. That is to show you how influential, financially influential some of these people are. And to hear that a sovereign minister who has equally served his state two terms, it's appropriating 10 billion naira for rent and furniture to Akpabio. So does that mean that Senator Godswill Akpabio doesn't actually have a home before now? Or is it fair to say that every other year Senator Godswill Akpabio and Abbas and two others, have this penchant of removing and bringing new ones, that is furnitures and other, things in their house? So does that mean that Senator Godswill Akpabio, is so in need that, rent has to be paid for the house that he is currently staying in? You see, this is what we keep talking about, a situation where, our leaders, actually, make it difficult for us to understand and recognize them as great leaders. It's actually so very unfortunate, if you ask me, for Senator Godswill Akpabio, to willingly want to take home 10 billion naira for rent and furniture from Wike, the FCT minister. It's very so laughable. One of the guests we had, sometimes back said, in the United States of America, parliamentarians only sit maybe 2 or 3 times in a quarter. That's in 3 months, right? And the rest of the time, they serve their people while maintaining their real jobs. So if a parliamentarian in the United States is a doctor, his responsibility is first being a great doctor while serving his constituency. In Nigeria, however, it is a situation where our parliamentarians are career politicians, right? So if a senator takes over the seat of his constituency, he is a career politician. It's like someone who has trained himself to be an engineer. He said, I am a career engineer or I'm a career doctor. So For him, his entirety is dedicated to being a good doctor, a good engineer. In Nigeria, politics is supposed to be a game where service is the most important thing. But in Nigeria, however, it is a career where politicians come and they feel that it is a duty for them, to govern the lives of other people. Now, it would have been a different thing if these people even govern right or they do it well, right? But on the other way around, it is the opposite of the case. Rather than them, governing us well, they do the opposite of the case. It's only in Nigeria you have leaders who will tell you to love Nigeria, to be a patriotic Nigerian, but they would not love Nigeria and they would never be patriotic. They have changed the national anthem in the guise that it will make us patriotic. The question is, how many of our governors, and if possible, fair to say, can the president of the country who changed the national anthem, can he sing the national anthem himself, just to show us the true nature of patriotism? They ask us not to patronize made in Nigerian goods, but go to their shelves. You see foreign made goods. They ask us to patronize our local hospitals, but when they are sick, they are quick to run to UK and France to go check their BP. They ask us to make good use of our tertiary institutions in the universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, and so on and so forth. But they have their own children flown out just after primary or secondary school to Ivy League schools in Oxford and Cambridge and Columbia in other parts of the world. And the question is, why must our politicians keep acting like ostriches? They hide their heads behind the sand while the whole of their entire body is exposed to the open. It's so very unfortunate, though. So very unfortunate. 10 billion naira would have gone to doing lots of things in Nigeria. There are lots of communities today that do not have or do not know what potable water is. Do you know what 10 billion naira would do in providing boreholes to different communities in the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria? Do you know what 10 billion naira would do in providing a mother and child hospital in some communities in Nigeria? Today we still have a mother and child, issues, maternal mortality, child mortality, women dying in the process of giving birth or put into bed and all that. And these are issues that can literally be solved. There are countries in the world that the last time they ever experienced a mother, giving up while put into bed is maybe like 20 or 30 years ago. But every day in Nigeria, we still have it. Very avoidable. But our leaders will never think of that. Rather, you can see N10B Wike allocating 10 billion naira for rent and furniture to Akpabio, who has more than enough, to Abbas, who has more than enough, to 2 others' names, of course, not mentioned here, I believe have more than enough. And you think Nigeria would ever be great? Now, long thing, it's going to be very, very long. It's going to be a Herculean task for us to get our ass, back together in this country. Well, that's all we have. I'm just but, a media professional whose responsibility is to read out what has been curated and made possible by experts, of course, who have gone there to collate some of these stories. But this is just my interpretation of what we have on Daily Trust in newspaper.